Hello and welcome to the show, and today I'm going to be going over AEW Full Gear 2024. This was the most recent AEW pay-per-view, as well as the 6th overall AEW Full Gear event, and I usually look forward to Full Gear all year. Consistently, Full Gear has been one of the best wrestling shows of the year in all of professional wrestling for the last couple of years. However, this year, I had absolutely zero interest in Full Gear. This show has been built horrendously. Tony Khan and the AEW creative team have lost the ability to book week-to-week television. Nothing is interesting or engaging. There is very little investment in any of the storylines they have going on, and I just did not care about the majority of what happened on Full Gear. So I had very little interest going into this show. A lot of that pertains to the storyline they've got going on with the Death Riders. This is their second takeover angle for the year, being that the first one with the Elite was such a colossal failure, and now they're trying to do the same thing with the Death Riders. It just reeks of uninteresting. I could not bring myself to care about anything that was going on this show. Let's talk about it. There were 3 matches that took place on 0 Hour. Who cares? I'm not going to go through them because if it's not important enough to be on the main show, it's not worth going over. But I do want to say massive respect to Big Boom AJ. He wrestled with a broken foot, and for that, he has my utmost respect. And 0 Hour, the entrances for the opening match took place on 0 Hour. Not a big fan of that. I really hated when entrances for the opening match take place on the pre-show. That just devalues the opening match. With that being said, let's dive straight into our opening match. Fatal 4-way match for the AEW World Tag Team Championships. Private Party defending against Kings of the Black Throne, the Acclaimed, and the Outrunners. Private Party beat the Young Bucks on Dynamite to become the AEW World Tag Team Champions, which shocked me because I didn't expect the Young Bucks to drop the titles to Private Party immediately after Wrestle Dream, but here we are. The Young Bucks dropping the Tag Team Championships to me was both surprising and not surprising because they haven't done anything as the World Tag Team Champions, yet at the same time, Private Party have been booked into oblivion for the last couple of years. Now, all of a sudden, they get a small boost of momentum and they are the World Tag Team Champions. Didn't really make a whole lot of sense. There was a qualifying tournament in order to earn spots in this match. So, first thing I want to mention, the Outrunners, Turbo Floyd and Truth Magnum. These guys got incredible reactions when they came out. Malachi Black and Mark Quinn started this match. This match showcased some tension between the Acclaimed. Max Caster was very much a heel, and he got a very negative reception from the crowd. Anthony Bowens was still playing up towards the crowd and being portrayed as a face. There was a stare down between Turbo Floyd and Brody King. Malachi Black and Brody King did the suplex stomp moonsault combination. That was very nice. Max Caster hit an attitude adjustment. Private Party hit stereo 450 splashes on the Outrunners. House of Black did the cannonball kick combination on Anthony Bowens. Total Recall on Brody King. Max Caster made the save. There was a spot where there was some tension between Anthony Bowens and Max Caster. Billy Gunn tried to come in, play Peacemaker, and they recreated that spot with the New Day from SummerSlam 2015. There was a blind tag by Max Caster on Anthony Bowens, which he didn't see, and that created more tension between the two of them. Closing sequence of this match saw Private Party hit Gin and Juice on Max Caster for the win. Private Party retained the AEW World Tag Team Championships. This was a fine opening match, nothing overly special. All 8 guys worked well in this match. There were a couple of impressive spots, but as far as the caliber of AEW World Tag Team Championship matches that we've seen, especially on pay-per-view, this didn't really deliver the same quality that I was hoping for. But still a solid match, a decent enough opener. Private Party retained. That was the right call, being that they just won the Tag Team Championships. Moving on to our next match. MJF versus Roderick Strong. This stems from the MJF-Adam Cole feud that has completely lost all momentum and all interest as far as I am concerned. Story behind this match was MJF laid out a challenge to both Adam Cole and Roderick Strong. The first one to win 3 consecutive matches would face MJF at Full Gear, and Roderick Strong won 3 matches. Adam Cole lost the 3rd match to Konosuke Takeshita, and that's how we ended up with this match. Firstly, I want to say it's great to see Roderick Strong back in a singles capacity. He is a great professional wrestler, and I feel like he is being wasted in this trios thing with the Kingdom. And I will say, I hate the Undisputed Kingdom theme song. Why can't Roderick Strong come out to his Kill Switch Engage theme? MJF cut a promo at the start of the match on the outside of the ring. Roderick Strong immediately went out and hit him with some chops. Strong then accidentally chopped the ring post, and MJF took control. He targeted that hand. MJF hit an apron powerbomb. Strong hit an impressive combination of moves for a 2 count. Strong then countered a heat seeker attempt. Roderick Strong hit a baseball slide and a slam on the apron. MJF hit his hammerlock DDT. Roderick Strong locked in a cloverleaf, but his hand gave out. MJF went for a suplex, but his back gave out. MJF headbutted the hand of Roderick Strong. Roderick Strong hit end of heartache, but MJF was able to hit the ropes. Roderick Strong then hits an impressive backbreaker, gutbuster, and running kick combination. That was an impressive sequence of moves. Roderick Strong is an incredible professional wrestler. MJF then came back with a suplex, and finally MJF locks in Salt of the Earth for the win. Roderick Strong taps out. Post-match, MJF attacks Roderick Strong with a chair. Adam Cole's music hits. He and the Kingdom come out to try and make the save. Kyle O'Reilly then comes out, shoves Adam Cole, and he asks him why he's not going after MJF, and then Kyle O'Reilly and Roderick Strong leave together. This match between Roderick Strong and MJF was pretty good. Both men are great professional wrestlers, and this really was exactly what it needed to be. We are getting Adam Cole versus MJF more than likely at World's End, because that's when all of this started, so it's going to end where it began. The inclusion of Kyle O'Reilly into the storyline does nothing for me. I am completely over the Adam Cole MJF storyline. They had one chance to do it right, and they completely fumbled the ball. Undisputed Kingdom have been booked into oblivion. I don't know when Wardlow's AEW contract is up, and if I'm him, I'm letting my contract expire and then jumping ship to the WWE. Adam Cole and MJF, I mean, we've got a little over a month until World's End. We'll see if they can salvage this feud, but I highly doubt it. The inclusion of Kyle O'Reilly into this does nothing for me. I hope that this feud ends and both men move on to other things, because this has overstayed its welcome and lost all interest. But this match between Roderick Strong and MJF was pretty good. This was a solid match. For the TBS Championship, Mercedes Moné versus Chris Statlander. Chris Statlander countered a suplex into a gorilla press and then hit a standing moonsault. Moné hit a Hurricane Rana off the apron that looked very nice. And then Mercedes hit a Meteora off the apron to the floor. That looked very cool. Moné then hits a baseball slide and then another Meteora on the steps. That looked vicious. And then back in the ring, Mercedes hits another Meteora followed by a stomp that got a 2 count, followed by another Meteora that got another 2 count, and then there was a Meteora off the turnbuckle. Mercedes tried to use the rope for leverage, but Aubrey Edwards caught her. Mercedes was yelling at Aubrey. Mercedes countered something into a neck breaker. I don't know what Chris Statlander was going for. And then Mercedes hits a sunset flip powerbomb followed by another Meteora. There were a lot of Meteoras in this match. Chris Statlander then threw Mercedes across the ring. She countered a Meteora into a buckle bomb. Chris hit a power slam and a Chaos Theory suplex. There were a series of counters that ended with Moné delivering the backstabber. Mercedes then hits another Meteora for a 2 count. Chris then hits a backbreaker and a discus lariat. Mercedes countered a move into a DDT. Moné hits the Three Amigos. Chris Statlander then counters the frog splash into an F5 that looked very nice. Chris Statlander misses a 450 and Moné starts targeting the knee. Moné then hits the frog splash on the knee. That looked very impressive. There were 2 backstabbers followed by the Moneymaker for a 2 count. Chris Statlander then drops Mercedes on her face, and then Moné counters Saturday Night Fever into a Cazadora on the ropes, and that somehow was the end of the match. This was a very good match. Up until this point, this was the best match of the night, but the finish, when it happened, I was like, wait, that's the end of this match? That just kind of made no sense. I thought this match could have gone another couple of minutes, but match ends. Mercedes Moné retains the TBS Championship, which is a surprise to no one. Mercedes is not dropping this belt. Chris Statlander, I hope she's pushed more prominently. This match was very good, but the finish just looked very weak. I didn't think that would be the end of the match. That being said, this was a very good match. Both ladies delivered excellent performances, and this was very good. Hangman Adam Page versus Jay White. This is a rematch from Wrestle Dream and the Owen Hart Foundation tournament. This feud has continued following Wrestle Dream. Christian Cage has been involved in this feud with Hangman Adam Page against Bullet Club Gold. Jay White hit some chops early on. Hangman then delivers a suplex to White outside of the ring that looked very impressive. Hangman then targeted the left leg of Jay White during this match. Jay White countered a lariat into a DDT. White hit a spinning uppercut against the corner that looked very impressive. Hangman hits a fallaway slam in the corner and then hits an avalanche fallaway slam that looked very nice. White hits a superplex that looked very impressive. Hangman hits a sit-out powerbomb, gets a 2 count. Jay White hits a dragon screw on the apron and outside of the ring. Hangman shoves Jay White into the barricade. Hangman locks in the ankle lock on the outside. Jay White is crawling back to the ring. He makes it back in. Hangman goes for the buckshot. Jay White counters it and it's reversed into an ankle lock by Hangman. White hits a Uranagi that gets a 2 count. Jay White reverses an ankle lock into a submission of his own. Hangman then hits 2 Deadeyes that gets a 2 count. They trade a series of counters which ends with the Blade Runner for the win. Jay White beats Hangman Adam Page 2 pay-per-views in a row. They're now 2-1 in AEW and I believe 5-1 overall. Post-match, Hangman Adam Page attacked Jay White and then he punched Christopher Daniels, who came to try and break it up. This was a solid match. Personally, I enjoyed their match from Wrestle Dream a lot more than this. I wasn't a big fan of Hangman losing this match because Hangman, he won that steel cage match against Swerve Strickland, and this feud with Jay White, even though Jay White is great, Hangman kind of feels directionless right now. With the way that steel cage match ended, it felt like he should have been the next main event contender. However, now losing 2 pay-per-view matches in a row, I don't really see the direction they're going with Hangman Adam Page. Jay White, I find it a little weird that Jay White is kind of being presented as a face since he's a natural heel. This match itself was fine, but compared to their match from Wrestle Dream last month, not as good. But this was still a solid match. I just don't know where they're going with either guy. This match featured a problem that I saw during a lot of the matches on Full Gear. There were a lot of spots where the wrestler made it back into the ring at the 9 count during count-out spots. The more you do that, the more annoying it becomes. Why not have a guy back in the ring by the 7 or the 8 count? Do we really have to make it all the way to 9 count to manufacture some tension? In any case, this was a solid match, but I really don't know where they're going with either guy after this. My most anticipated match of the night from an in-ring standpoint, Will Ospreay versus Kyle Fletcher. The explanation that Kyle Fletcher gave as to why he turned on Will Ospreay to me made 0 sense, but here we are. Will Ospreay came out first. He didn't do any of his big pomp and circumstance. He didn't play up to the crowd. He came in all serious, walked stoically to the ring. His outfit very much resembled the Punisher from Marvel. Kyle Fletcher came out with a crown on his head. He's got a new theme song, not a big fan of it. Don Callis was on commentary during this match. I absolutely love Don Callis. He is great. These guys immediately out of the gate from when the bell rang came at each other with strikes. Ospreay was knocked down by Fletcher. Ospreay hit a Hurricane Rana off the steps. Fletcher hit a DDT and connected with some strikes. Fletcher then hit a brainbuster on the outside. The crowd, of course, was booing Don Callis because the AEW fanbase hates Don Callis. He is a heat magnet. Kyle Fletcher was targeting the neck of Will Ospreay during this match. Ospreay had kinesio tape around his neck and shoulders. Fletcher hits the yes kicks that Bryan Danielson used to do. Ospreay went for a springboard move, but his shoulder gave out. Fletcher then hit a devastating kick. He locks in the Dragon Sleeper on Ospreay. Fletcher then countered a DDT into a Michinoku driver. Ospreay kicked Fletcher off the apron. Ospreay then hits a beautiful Sky Twister on the outside. That looked amazing. Ospreay hit a springboard forearm. They traded chops. Ospreay asked Kyle Fletcher to hit him. Fletcher hit him with a super kick. That looked devastating. That was a brutal looking super kick. Ospreay hit his Nando's kick and the Blue Thunder Bomb. Kyle Fletcher reversed an Oscutter into a neck breaker. That looked very impressive. Kyle Fletcher then hits a sit-out powerbomb that got him a 2 count. Ospreay hits Stun Dog Millionaire and a Tombstone on the outside. Fletcher beats the 9 count. Ospreay then hits a springboard drop kick, a Sky Twister that somehow got a 2 count. They trade a series of counters with Ospreay hitting a Spanish Fly and Fletcher came back with a lariat, and then Ospreay hit Hidden Blade. Ospreay hits a Style Splash, got a 2 count. Ospreay hits another Hidden Blade, that got a 2 count. There were Fight Forever chants, which this was an excellent in-ring match. Ospreay now was punching the neck of Kyle Fletcher. Ospreay went for a Stormbreaker from the apron to hit on the steps. Fletcher got out of that, and he hit a jumping tombstone off the apron onto the steel steps. That was devastating. That was no question the sickest spot of the night. Fletcher then threw Ospreay back in the ring. I thought that was supposed to be the end of this match. I don't know why they continued after this. Ospreay then hit a jumping kick and a pile driver. That got a 2 count. Fletcher then hit a running kick, a brain buster on the turnbuckle, and that was the end of this match. Kyle Fletcher wins. He defeats Will Ospreay clean. Don Callis didn't get a lot of interference in this match. This was a great match. This was an excellent match. This was the best match of the night from an in-ring standpoint. However, with the match continuing after the pile driver on the steps, that completely took me out of it. Take what happened with Randy Orton and Kevin Owens on SmackDown. Kevin Owens hit a pile driver and Randy Orton was written off of TV. Hasn't been seen since. My big issue with this was that on AEW social media, Will Ospreay was announced as one of the 12 competitors in the Continental Classic. Why? What I would have done, being that Mark Davis came out at the end of this match to help Will Ospreay and stood by him as Kyle Fletcher left with Don Callis. What I would have done is I would have had Will Ospreay off of TV for the rest of the year and build a match between Kyle Fletcher and Mark Davis at World's End, with the stipulation being if Mark Davis loses, then he has to join the Don Callis family. That is what I would have done. Will Ospreay being announced for the Continental Classic legitimately made no sense. Don't get me wrong, Will Ospreay is a great wrestler. In my opinion, Will Ospreay is the best in-ring performer on the planet today. However, from a storyline perspective, Will Ospreay being on TV and continuing to wrestle, this just makes no sense. All that being said, this was an excellent match. It's great to see the Don Callis family having some more momentum, finally, after being booked into oblivion for the majority of this year. This was an excellent match. Fletcher and Ospreay are great. This was an excellent match. Best match of the night. Women's World Championship Champagne Celebration. Mina Shirakawa is on the stage and she says that this is a celebration. Mariah May comes out. They drink champagne. They dance. May tried to hit Shirakawa with a champagne bottle, but she saw it coming. She kicked the bottle, completely breaking it, and Mina Shirakawa spears Mariah May off the stage through a table. From a storyline perspective, this makes sense. A match between Mina Shirakawa and Mariah May. There is story between these two. This is the Women's Championship match at the end of the year, and that's where I see Toni Storm making her return to go after Mariah May. I thought this was fine. It did exactly what it needed to do, furthering a storyline between May and Shirakawa and setting up the championship match at World's End. This was fine. It did exactly what it needed to do, and moving forward to our next match. TNT Championship, Jack Perry versus Daniel Garcia. Daddy Magic Matt Menard was on commentary during this match. One thing I will say about this match, this went almost 18.5 minutes. This match definitely could have gone 5 minutes shorter. That's my biggest complaint from this match. It went longer than it should have. Jack Perry has been the TNT champion coming out of Forbidden Door. His TNT championship reign definitely left a lot to be desired. The same situation with the Young Bucks. A lot of Perry's defenses, they didn't really feel like he was gonna be dropping the championship. His reign, if you look at it, has been one of the weaker TNT championship reigns in this belt's history. So starting off, Perry hit a draping DDT from the apron to the floor. Then he hit another draping DDT. Garcia countered a headlock into a suplex. Perry locked in the snare trap. On the outside, Perry dropped Garcia on the apron. Perry shoved Matt Menard, who was on commentary. He dared him to do something. Perry then powerbombed Garcia through a table and dumped some trash on him. Beat the 9 count. 3 matches in a row this happened. This spot has been overplayed. Garcia back in the ring, he hits a lariat. Perry then lawn darted Garcia into the turnbuckle. Perry brought the TNT championship into the ring. He dared Garcia to hit him with it. Garcia threw the belt down. Referee took the belt and Jack Perry hits a low blow on Daniel Garcia. Jack Perry went for a running knee. Garcia countered that into a jackknife. Perry hits a pile driver. That somehow wasn't the end of the match. Garcia goes wild followed with some chops. Garcia hits a pile driver of his own, and then he locks in a sharpshooter, leans back, Jack Perry taps out. Daniel Garcia is the new TNT champion. The crowd popped for this. Garcia was celebrating with the crowd. You could hear the happiness in Matt Menard's voice when he won the championship. He gets his moment. This was a great moment. This match itself was solid for what it was. I just feel that it went longer than it should have. If this match went like 5 or 4 minutes shorter, it would have been great, but it went 18 minutes. That was too long in my opinion. This was a solid match. Garcia and Perry are really good wrestlers. This was good for what it was. AEW International Championship, Konosuke Takeshita versus Ricochet. I have zero recollection of this match even being announced. Ricochet started off with some arm drags, and then he hit a drop kick. He hit a springboard crossbody on Takeshita. Takeshita catches a 619 attempt, and he hit a big boot. Takeshita hits a backdrop on the barricade. Takeshita then does a spinning backdrop that looked very nice. Takeshita then launches Ricochet from the top rope. Ricochet hits a roll-through dropkick that looked very impressive. Ricochet hits a springboard back elbow. Ricochet then hits an enziguri and a springboard corkscrew and a 450. At this point, Don Callis left the commentary table. Takeshita catches a springboard into a blue thunderbomb that looked very impressive. Takeshita then hit a German suplex from the top rope and followed that up with a lariat that got a 2 count. Takeshita hits a running knee strike that got a 2 count. Ricochet hits a beautiful shooting star press that got a 2 count. Ricochet tries to lift Takeshita and he hits a kick on Takeshita after releasing him that looked very nice. Takeshita then hits a running knee strike to the back and a top rope brainbuster for the win. Takeshita retains the International Championship. No surprise there, Takeshita just recently won this belt and Ricochet just came to AEW, so he was not winning. Takeshita was always going to retain. The way Ricochet's been booked in AEW so far is very reminiscent to how he was booked on the main roster in WWE. The crowd did not care during this match. They weren't as loud as I was hoping they would be. Ricochet is a great athlete. Konosuke Takeshita is a great athlete. But Ricochet, he needs a manager to cut promos for him. Ricochet is a great wrestler, but the man cannot cut a promo. A manager could really help him, and having a manager to go back and forth with Don Callis on the mic while Ricochet and Takeshita wrestled, that to me could have amplified this match. This match was alright, but the lack of crowd investment really took away from this match. Bobby Lashley versus Swerve Strickland. Bobby Lashley made his debut on AEW television following Wrestle Dream, and he aligned himself with MVP and Shelton Benjamin, forming the Hurt Syndicate. They tried to recruit Swerve, but Swerve refused, and that's how we ended up with this match. This was very much a showcase match for what Bobby Lashley can do. He dominated this match. He took control early on, hit a delayed vertical suplex. Benjamin caused a distraction, allowing Lashley to retake control. Swerve hit a knee strike to Lashley off the apron. Benjamin got ejected. Lashley hit a slam on the apron and then threw Swerve on the barricade. Swerve rammed Lashley into the steel steps and the post. Swerve hit an apron DDT, but that didn't look very good. It looked like Lashley fell too early, so that just looked a little sloppy. Swerve hit a stomp through the announce table. That looked very impressive. That was the best part of this match. Swerve hit a house call and a stomp for a 2 count. Swerve and MVP face off on the outside of the ring. Lashley hit a belly-to-belly suplex and a spear through the barricade. That looked awesome. Back in the ring, Lashley hits a spear, locks in the Hurt Lock. Swerve passes out. Lashley wins this match. This was his AEW debut. He was not losing this match. Post-match, he locks in the Hurt Lock on Prince Nana. Bobby Lashley was gonna do nothing if he stayed in WWE. It was clear that they weren't gonna push him as a main event guy anymore. Lashley being in AEW realigned with MVP and Shelton Benjamin, and I hope they realized the vision with this Hurt Syndicate group, because Hurt Business was disbanded way too early in WWE. I don't know why they decided to end Hurt Business when they did. This match showcased what Lashley can do, and it served its purpose. This was very much a showcase for Bobby Lashley. I wasn't a fan of the way Swerve was booked in this match. He had moments of dominance, but he was more or less squashed by Lashley. Both Swerve and Hangman coming out of the steel cage match at All Out, both of them feel like they're directionless. I don't know what Tony Khan is doing with Swerve and Hangman, but I'm interested to see what Bobby Lashley does in AEW. Main event for the AEW World Championship, Jon Moxley versus Orange Cassidy. This is the third singles match between these two guys on pay-per-view, the first one being being at All Out last year and the second one at Full Gear last year. Story behind this match, Jon Moxley and the Death Riders attempting to do a takeover of AEW. Orange Cassidy has stepped up as the first challenger for Jon Moxley in this AEW World Championship reign. I hated the way this match was built. I thought this would have been the perfect opportunity to see a different side of Orange Cassidy, but he's still the same Orange Cassidy, just slightly more serious. And there was that one promo where Jon Moxley, it was advertised as he was gonna take over. People do not care about this storyline. They just don't. Jon Moxley came out first with his Death Rider theme song. I love that song. Orange Cassidy immediately out of the gate hit 3 orange punches on Jon Moxley during the ring introductions. He hit a suicide dive and rammed Moxley into the barricade, hit some punches as Moxley was laid out on the announce table. Moxley took control, hit a running big boot. Orange Cassidy was busted open. Moxley then hit a sloppy looking DDT on the steps that didn't look very good. Shafir then kicked Orange Cassidy as he was making his way back to the ring. Moxley then hit a pile driver that got a 2 count. Orange Cassidy gouged Jon Moxley's eyes out. Moxley threw Orange Cassidy into the steps. Moxley then hit a release suplex that got a 2 count. Moxley hit a forearm on Orange Cassidy mid-air that looked very nice. Moxley locked in a submission and then transitioned that into the guillotine. Orange Cassidy hit a tornado DDT. Moxley hit a jumping cutter that looked very impressive. They trade slaps and then they trade forearms. Orange Cassidy follows up with 2 orange punches and a Cazadora for a 2 count. Moxley hits a lariat. Orange hits an orange punch and beach break that gets a 2 count. Claudio and Pac come out, but the conglomeration come out to make the save. Marina Shafir is in the ring. She attempts to hit Orange Cassidy with the briefcase that has the world title, but Willow Nightingale comes out to make the save. Orange Cassidy then hits Moxley with the case, and then Wheeler Yuta comes out, hits the Busaiku knee on Orange Cassidy. Moxley hits a Death Rider. He beats Orange Cassidy and he retains the AEW World Championship. This match to me was a lot better than their 2 singles matches from last year. I thought this was a very good match. This was, to me, second best match of the night behind Ospreay Fletcher. And then the post-match stuff. So Wheeler Yuta pours disinfectant on Orange Cassidy as Moxley is holding him. Hangman Adam Page comes out to attack Wheeler Yuta. Christian Cage comes out and hits Kill Switch on Jon Moxley. He stares down with Hangman. Hangman leaves. He teases cashing in his contract for a world title match. Jay White comes out, hits Blade Runner on Christian Cage. Christian leaves the ring and Jay White is left standing in the ring. The Death Riders attack Jay White and everyone just leaves the ring. This, to me, was complete nonsense. For starters, why is Hangman Adam Page involving himself with the Death Riders? Doesn't make sense. Christian Cage, that makes sense. Hangman, this guy lost his 2 singles matches on pay-per-view. Why does he deserve a world championship match now? The way this all unfolded was just crazy. It would have made more sense for a brawl between the conglomeration and Death Riders to ensue after this. I don't know why everyone else got involved. Then, Death Rider's car is completely destroyed by a truck, and it was clear as day that this was Darby Allin. They steal another truck and the Death Riders leave the arena, and the closing sequence of AEW Full Gear is Darby Allin yelling at Jon Moxley, smashing in the windshield of a truck with his skateboard as Full Gear goes off the air. That was ridiculous. The match between Jon Moxley and Orange Cassidy was pretty good. My opinion, second best match of the night. Everything post-match was completely insane and could have been done a lot better. I mentioned this in my review of Wrestle Dream, that Darby Allin and Orange Cassidy were going to be the first 2 challengers for Jon Moxley. Jon Moxley versus Darby Allin at World's End. It makes sense. Just book the match. I don't know why we needed all of this to happen. And one thing I want to add on top of that. Darby Allin was announced as one of the 12 competitors for the Continental Classic. Why? Why is Darby Allin chasing the Continental Championship when more than likely he's going to be booked in the World Championship match against Jon Moxley at World's End? What sense does this make? This Death Rider storyline, I was willing to give it a chance, and I was willing to let the story play out after Wrestle Dream, after Bryan Danielson was written off of TV. But the way the story has played out following Wrestle Dream has been a disaster. I am not a fan of the way they're booking the Death Riders. I'm not a fan of this Jon Moxley world title reign. This storyline just started, and this storyline was set to revitalize AEW, and honestly, I am ready for it to be over. And if the rumors are true, the Elite reforming, the Young Bucks, Kenny Omega, and Adam Page, they reform to come take on the Death Riders. That is a horrendous, terrible idea. For starters, Kenny Omega was taken out in his hometown of Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada by the New Elite. Why would he, in his right mind, rejoin the Young Bucks? The Young Bucks are ice cold. And Hangman Adam Page, what sense would it make to turn this guy babyface when he's been a great heel? This is how I would end the Death Rider storyline in AEW. All in 2025 in Texas. Jon Moxley versus Eddie Kingston for the World Championship. Eddie Kingston is the man to dethrone Jon Moxley and end this Death Rider storyline. Eddie Kingston, even though he wasn't there in day one, he is an AEW original in my book. Having him be the guy to end the storyline and dethrone Jon Moxley, to me, makes all the sense in the world. And I wouldn't reform the Elite to go after the Death Riders. If they're gonna do Anarchy in the Arena or one of those gimmick matches, I book the Death Riders against Kenny Omega, Kota Ibushi, Bryan Danielson, and Eddie Kingston. I am not reforming the Elite to go after the Death Riders. The Bucks themselves tried to take over the company earlier this year. Why would they be the saviors of the company? This makes no sense. Overall, AEW Full Gear was a decent show. Wasn't a big fan of this show. To me, this is the weakest Full Gear event AEW has produced. But overall, there were a couple of pretty good matches on this show, and it was a solid enough wrestling show. That is all for today. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to hit like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. You can follow me on Instagram at Said_2000, and I will catch you on the next video. Till then, take care.